What is clear is that for the last 10 odd years, quietly China has been preparing for global conflict, rebuilding the PLA. In the last couple of years, several private sector factories have had to allocate floor space for the production of PLA goods. Just in the last week or so, Taiwan is saying, we have never seen such a large fleet of naval vessels surrounding us since 1996. I have no idea if there will be an invasion of Taiwan, but it may well be part of the build-up of China's resistance to Trump's introduction of tariffs. You do this, we're going to do that. On the gas side, Trump wants to sell even more gas to Europe. America is the biggest supplier of gas to Europe. I can't remember the exact figure, but there was a huge increase in gas supplies to Europe last year and this year. So he's going to discourage any reopening of those gas pipelines into Europe. Peace will only be possible if there is a legitimate government in Ukraine through which Russia can negotiate. Zelensky is not a legitimate president. He can't sign any piece of paper. So it's not just Trump and Putin, it's Ukraine itself. Another reason why this is going to be a very protracted negotiation. And then there are people who want to push for, not for peace, but for war. Then we need to look at another aspect of it. Follow the money. Who now owns a large part of Ukraine's farming land? Through granting mortgages, it's the mega financial institutions in America. Who wants the reconstruction contracts? America. Will Russia want that to happen? I doubt it. So all I'm saying is the more you dig into peace and negotiations, the more complex the issue becomes. So the bottom line is we can have a ceasefire, but the ceasefire will be very much on Putin's terms. Because again, as he said in the Q&A, I don't want a ceasefire that provides Ukraine the time to refurbish its forces. The other matters are denazification, demilitarization. I want my $300 billion back plus interest. These are not things that can be negotiated overnight. Who trained the terrorist groups in northern Syria? Ukrainian special forces. Who trained them with drones? Ukrainian special forces. Probably some of the funds that went to Ukraine went into these guys. So Syria is in a state of flux. What's going to emerge? Who knows, really? Russia says we are talking with everybody. The obvious winners are Israel and Turkey. Israel is doing to Syria and Lebanon what they've done to Gaza. Turkey is the wild card. And I saw this morning on the news that Turkey has amassed a large army on the borders of Syria. You've got to look at what Erdogan wants. His popularity has fallen sharply in Turkey. The Turkish economy is quite weak. He needs an external victory. Aleppo is his victory. The province of Aleppo was part of the Ottoman Empire. When Aleppo was overtaken, the first flag to be raised was the Turkish flag. So you've got America and Israel pushing for greater Israel. You've got Turkey looking to defeat the Kurds. That has been his long ambition to do. You've got Iran and Russia who deliberately stepped back when they saw that the country was going to collapse. Russia is talking with HTS on their air and port bases. Russia is removing a lot of their assets in Syria to Libya. Whether that's a permanent or a temporary move will depend on what happens in Syria. We have to look at what is Netanyahu looking at. In his mind, not necessarily correct, He's taken over Gaza. He is about to annex part of the West Bank. In his mind, he's defeated Hezbollah. Now, having taken over Syria and now having the ability to use the Syrian airbase, is looking at attacking Iran, which has always been his goal. And there is one scenario that is produced by knowledgeable people that he will make another attack on Iran. Iran will retaliate with a view to destroy and not to send a message. And in so doing, that will force America to come in to support Israel. There is another scenario being painted at the moment that there will be a two-state Palestine state in Gaza and the West Bank, which will bring Saudi into the equation, and thus America will rebuild its old policy of a two-state solution with Saudi Arabia in it, and Saudi Arabia being given the nuclear umbrella. That isolates Iran. But Iran-Saudi relationships are getting stronger and stronger. They are currently undertaking joint naval exercises. There is a general feeling in the region that we don't want the colonial empires messing around in our region. We are now mature enough to look after ourselves. Then on the other side, you've got Russia and China. China has huge investments in Iran and a 25-year development treaty. China gets a lot of its oil from Iran. Russia is about to sign a very large and complex treaty with Iran, which includes defense. Both countries see Iran as pivotal in developing the BRICS, not just the BRICS organization, but the whole of the transport north-south links and east-west. So Iran is very pivotal to BRICS. Now, one of Trump's objectives is to break up BRICS, and he will probably, in his negotiations with Russia, will say something like, we give you Ukraine, we promise that Ukraine will never join NATO, but in return, you've got to break away your alliance with China. So he goes to China, again I'm guessing, and he says, you break away from Russia, and if you invade Taiwan, we won't stop you or try to. Washington has had some success in weakening Brazil's resolve with BRICS. The big ministries in Brazil are anti-BRICS, so that's put the President Lula on a weak footing. Moreover, some suggest all Washington has to do is to make a telephone call and Lula is back in jail. So Washington has already started to break the BRICS organization up. And the reason is very simple, that if BRICS was allowed to mature to the extent that they had developed strong secretariats, enlarged the new development bank into a functioning lending institution. If first they were able to settle most of their trade and investment without using the dollar, which is on the way of them so doing, and then in a few years' time to form their own BRICS currency, then that would leave America as another failed empire. So a primary objective of Washington, whoever is in the White House, is to see that BRICS fails. What does this mean? First of all, BRICS are not going to disappear tomorrow. Eventually, what it will mean is you've got two strong antagonists, and neither is going to step back, so you end in war. My fear is that the war syndrome, no matter whether in the short term there is ceasefire or deflating the conflict, that on our reckoning by 2028, we will be at war. That's when World War III starts. That's why we have these 3 short-term cycles until we get into 2028, when then we enter rolling recessions, if not depression, and it's wartime. I'm told that something is building up in Bangladesh that's going to cause Modi big problems. So again, America is going to use its toolbox to try to break Modi away from BRICS. It's part of what one might call a dying empire, using what assets it has left to retain its hegemony.